labelling. An important tool for the control of raw materials is the label. Reading it, you can collect a lot of information on quality and how the product has been kept. The Legislative Decree 27 January 1992, number 109, and subsequent amendment and additions provides that products packaged for sale have to include the following statements: the selling name, for example milk, flour, chocolate, etc. The list of ingredients in descending order of quantity. The net quantity, or in the case of a product that is pre-packaged, in a quantity consistent unit, the nominal quantity. The minimum time of keeping, MTK, or in the case of products that are highly perishable, from a microbiological point of view, the expiry date. The name or trademark, as well as the office of the manufacturer or the packager or seller settled in the European Community. The office of the production or packaging. The alcoholic strength by volume title for beverage containing alcohol more than 1.2%. A statement which allows to identify the batch origin. Keeping and use instructions in case you have to take special precautions depending on the nature of product. Use instructions when necessary. Information on origin. In the case of pre-packaged products that are intended to go to craft laboratories and restaurants, the law permits that there are just some of the statements. All other statements may be on accompanying documentation. Hygiene of the transport. The quality of a product can be compromised by hygiene conditions of transport. You should make sure that there is no lack of cleanliness or residue of perishable food within the transport. This may lead to a risk of contamination of the transported goods. At the same time, it could introduce harmful or spoilage microorganisms into the shop. It often happens that within the transport there are products which are not compatible with each other, as for example fresh non-packaged meats together with cheeses. You should check that they are transported in a clearly separate way. You should know that the restaurant staff, according to current regulation, has the right and duty to control the transport by which goods are delivered. In the case that the carrier refuses, you must insist on checking the transport, otherwise you are allowed to stop buying and accepting goods. Features of the transport of meat and fishery products. Vehicles for the transport of meats must be airtight. They also must have internal walls, and any part which may come into contact with the meat made of materials resistant to corrosion, these must meet regulatory requirements. Furthermore, walls must be smooth, easily cleanable and disinfectable. Corners and edges must be rounded. Be equipped with, in the case of transport of carcasses, halves and quarters, with corrosion-resistant suspension devices. These must be fixed at a height that the meat does not touch the floor except for packaged meats. Vehicles for transporting meats cannot be used for the transport of live animals. Furthermore, no other goods can be delivered in the same vehicle together with meat, except in the case of packaged meats kept in special containers. Offal and bowels must be transported in containers made of materials for food. Vehicles for the transport of fishery products must be airtight and beyond the requirements already set out. These must have devices that ensure the collection of water emitting from any melting of ice. Transport temperatures. Temperature above those required for storage or perishable goods are permissible by law for short periods during fractioned distribution. The required transport temperatures are as follows. Transport temperatures for non-frozen foodstuffs. Pasteurized milk packaged. Dairy products, fermented milk, cream, fresh cheeses, ricotta, from 0 degrees centigrade to +4 degrees centigrade. Butter and concentrated anhydrous butter, from +1 degrees centigrade to +6 degrees centigrade. Fishery products to be transported always under ice, from 0 degrees centigrade to temperatures approaching the melting of the ice. Meats, from -1 degree centigrade to +7 degrees centigrade. Poultry and rabbit meat, from -1 degree centigrade to +4 degrees. Game, from -1 degree centigrade to +3 degrees centigrade. Offal, from -1 degree centigrade to +3 degrees centigrade. Packaged edible bivalves, live mollusks, including shelled ones belonging to Chlamydia kind, Canestrelli and pectin scallops, +4 degrees centigrade. Transport temperatures for frozen foodstuffs. Fruit ice creams and frozen fruit juices. Maximum temperatures during loading and transport -10 degrees centigrade. A brief rise in temperature of not more than +3 degrees centigrade is permitted. Other ice creams. Maximum temperature during loading and transport -15 degrees centigrade. A brief rise in temperatures of not more than +3 degrees centigrade is permitted. Frozen fishery products. The temperature must not exceed -18 degrees centigrade during the loading and transport. A brief rise in temperature of not more than +3 degrees centigrade is permitted. Frozen butter and other fats. The temperature must not exceed -18 degrees centigrade during loading and transport. A brief rise in temperature of not more than +3 degrees centigrade is permitted. Frozen offal, shelled eggs, poultry and game. The temperature must not exceed -10 degrees during loading and transport. A brief rise in temperatures of not more than +3 degrees centigrade is permitted. Qualified suppliers. The choice and selection of suppliers is of primary importance for a food business activity. In this case, a restaurant and/or a shop, which wants to control its production process and ensure good hygiene standards. All the suppliers should be classified and listed according to their ability to meet hygiene and health standards for the foods they sell. The method for the selection of suppliers can be based on direct or indirect assessment. The direct assessment consists in planning appropriate visits to suppliers in order to assess their compliance with the requirements necessary to ensure the quality of the purchased product. The method for indirect assessment consists in the acquisition of the documentation produced by the supplier, containing results of tests carried out on products. Generally, you can refer to tests of some samples of the product, experiences of previous suppliers of similar products, data, and expertise provided by other operators who have used the same product. The owner of the food business activity must ask each supplier to supply a statement in writing as provided by the new EEC regulations to be legally registered or recognized for his business activity. The supplier must also declare the application in his own business or self-controlled plan based on HACCP systems. The supplier's declaration has a lifetime validity. If the supplier doesn't send the required declaration, you should replace him